Think, Build, Test. Today we're discussing whether or not an off-the-shelf item such as the Fleximount GL1 is a better option than trying to do it yourself. Stick around for the end of this video. I have some tips and tricks on the install and what I thought about it and just my first impressions of the product. If you're interested in that, I've looked on the internet and there's several people trying to do different hoists to hoist things up from their car roofs to their lawnmowers to whatever they got going on, kayaks. What I see is a whole lot of wiring all over the ceiling, winches over there, and then you got to run power to it, and you got to know your length of all your ropes, and is it going to be safe? Now, I am all for doing it yourself. I mean, I built my own wheels for my lift pit. How much more excessive does do it yourself get than that? But sometimes you got to know when to cut your losses. One of the things that I have an issue with is this fifth wheel hitch. It's a pain in the butt. I'm always tripping over it. It just has no great place to put it. It's too wide for a shelf and it's just awkward. It just, everywhere it goes, I create this clutter bomb all around it. For me, this is a no-brainer. If I had this, or even if I had like a companion hitch, I think I was looking up the heaviest hitches that you can get are around 200 pounds. Well, this GL1 lift by Fleximount can lift 300 pounds. It has a 4-foot by 4-foot deck. So as you can see, I have my big fifth wheel hitch and 2 tires. And honestly, I could even put more on here because this is only like 120 pounds. Now for me, when I saw this, saving space wasn't the only thing that I seen. I saw a working tool. We brought our car in the shop and we tested, and we were able to take and raise our hood off of our terrain. That way, if we needed to pull an engine or to get in there and have more room to work, we can just mount it to the bottom side of this and lift it up. That's something that I saw on their website was if you have like a Jeep hardtop, it shows you can mount through straps or bungees things to the bottom to be able to help hoist things off. So this is more than just a storage unit to me, it's a tool. Now here's the part where you can help me out as a small channel. I have a link in the description, and that link will take you directly to their Amazon store. So you'll have safe purchasing through Amazon with the shipping that you know. Fleximount reached out to me to be able to sponsor us with this unit. I didn't know, honestly, whether or not I was gonna do the review or not, because I hadn't looked it up, but after it came in and we've used it and we went up and down, you've seen all the times, it's done great. It's a pretty quality product. It's got the grade markings on the bolt. All the paint is coated on really well. They really had safety in mind with this, and I think this is at least their second version of this, because they switched from a bolt on the cables to 2 cables with 1, 2, 3, 4 swage locks on each one. So these look like 1/8-inch cables, and I know an 1/8-inch cable can hold like 1,400 pounds by itself, and the crimps are usually rated just as good as the wire. Now everyone's shop space and garage is a different thing, so if you're looking into this, make sure that you have a 48 on center gap to be able to go to your joists. An easy way to tell if this is right for you is if your joisting spacings is 12, 16, or 24 on center, that will all be divisibles of 48. Now speaking of safety, they even have an anti-rotation lock that's up here. You take your hook, grab onto it, pull it over, and now the gear can't turn. Now the manufacturer does suggest that you have a lower than 9-foot ceiling for this application. And I looked on their website at the Q&A and saw that they were saying it's about this device here, that if it was higher than 9 foot, then this would be too high to work with the right torque that your body needs to run it. Now this tool is adjustable in and out in the length to be able to gain yourself a little bit of an advantage, but we all know what we're going to do with this. Power tool. The thing that I saw about this is If you gotta have a drill to install it, then you have a drill to run it. To me, this is a better option than using some winch because I don't have to run electricity to this. It just works. You just grab your drill and blast off. Now we're going to start the install portion of this video. This is what the packaging looks like, fresh out of the box. The shipment came good, box undamaged. So here's going to be my first impressions of what this is, whether or not I think that this is going to have good quality to be able to recommend to you. Since we're doing this in a garage, I'm going to commission the back of my pickup bed to help me get this completed. It helps me kind of get the stuff like going up and down a ladder. So we'll get started. I'm just going to place y'all over here. With your brackets that look like this, they have this little notch right here. They have to be with the cardboard with the notch. The rollers will be on the side with the cross. This is how I decided how I was going to put my longer side of the lift, the side with the spool. I have my garage door opener over here, so I don't have as much space with that, and I wanted it to be more in the center of my garage, so I'm going to put my longer side, and it extends out past this, but you have to think about your cables are going to be diagonaling across here like this, so just think about those things ahead of time. It tells us to make a 0.2 inch hole. That's going to be a little less than a 1/4 inch drill bit. It says to go 2.4 inches deep. So here's a little trick to make sure that you're drilling at the right depth. Measure 2.4 inches and take a little piece of that tape and wrap it around this. So one thing I wish that they would have done was to provide the drill bit. Here's a little thing I noticed that kind of lets you know what kind of a quality product you may be dealing with. If you have stamped heads with the manufacturer label, this is an 8.8 grade bolt. So if somebody has good markings on their bolts and hardware, they put a lot more care and thought into the safety of the product. Now it's time to install the axle, and this thing is heavy duty. They really put a lot of thought into this for you to just have to only hold these above your head for the install, because if you had to hold this above your head the whole time to try and get it lined up, this would definitely wear your back out. Let's see how easy this is to get into these brackets. We want our cables hanging off towards the inside of the unit. I'm going to put the heavy gearbox in first. Pretty easy. Just a disclaimer, you may not want to do this over your vehicle. This is my own personal choice to make this easier on me. As you've expanded this, you want to make sure that there's a hole sticking out here on this side and this side. I wanted to at least get these B bolts in there. That way these couldn't fall back down. Once these are in place, this unit can't retract back together. Now we're safe from this thing sliding back together and falling. Everything in this packet and the instructions is listed A, B, C, D, E, and it's in the order that you're going to assemble this, so that helps make it really easy. Now that we've let our cables down, we can route them through our pulleys. The nice thing about this is that they just fit. I didn't have to take anything apart. The bracket is made to fit. You'll just take the obvious longer one to extend and leave the other one hanging. Now, these cables come a little twisted, but you'll want to untwist them fully and make sure all the black wires hang freely towards the outside of the unit. As you can see, I'm not interfering with anything in this line of sight. It diagonals a little further back that way. If you're wanting to put this unit up against a wall, you have to think about if you have a rafter all the way up against the wall, that even if you're right there, this bracket overhangs a little bit. So that's gonna make it where you can't get centered on that. So think about that as you're planning this out. Also, the width of this unit is a couple of inches past the rafter. The design of this is to run in length with your rafters, so if your rafters are running the other way, you'll have to plan for that accordingly. Also, this for your consideration, if typically you have substrate drywall in between each one, then you're gonna have potentially 150 pounds pulling down, which means it's also gonna be pulling this direction on this pulley. So I added this board and this board to resist that force of pulling these boards together. But if you have substrate, drywall, or plywood or whatever in between, then that'll help resist that from pulling your boards in anyway. If you have a really water-soaked ceiling and everything's real soft, then you might want to consider strengthening up the inside of your rafters above your ceiling. Now that we're done up top, let's move down to the platform. These hook bolts are a 10 millimeter. All right, with it all the way let out, the black cable's supposed to be to the outside. This hoop's supposed to be perpendicular this way. All the tension rides on the black rope. The clear rope is only for safety. You're gonna have to untwist this and make sure the black is on the outside all the way over. Same way here, black all the way down, mounted on the outside. So Fleximount recommends that you do this with a ceiling that's 9 foot or less. And I question why that was, because the travel length is way shorter than 9 feet. So at a 9 foot ceiling, so I set mine right at 9 feet. So this cage is still off the ground.
Don't do that.